What is up, everyone? Darkside Phil here, and welcome to the latest edition of the Hateful Truth video game review series, where I give you maximum truth and minimum bullshit regarding today's newest gaming releases. And today we're going to talk about a game that, excuse me, was actually on the shelf for quite some time. We hadn't seen a new iteration of this series in several years. A lot of people even wondered if we would ever see another game. But it is a series that is very popular over the years, and it's actually a game that originally I had played one of the previous installments of the game, and I kind of liked it, but at the same time I did feel it was a little bit too difficult for the kind of gamer that I was, meaning, you know, it's not a game that was easy to jump into and know what to do all the time without a lot of repetition and gameplay. So, for me, I liked the game, but I never beat it back in the day. And now being able to play the more modern version of it where they've done things to basically kind of cater a little bit more to someone like me, I really enjoyed it. In fact, this is probably one of my favorite games of the year. We're talking about Hitman Absolution, okay? I first had a chance to play Hitman Absolution at E3 this year, and really enjoyed it. Really thought that the way that they had laid out the game with the multiple methods to assassinate people was very satisfactory. Just in that demo, it was to assassinate a certain guy who was supposed to be called like the King of Chinatown, and I could tell that there were ways to poison his food, there were ways to drop bricks on his head, to push him down a sewer, that there were multiple ways to fulfill your goals, and it looked really neat. And I said, wow, I cannot wait for this game to come out and to see if the actual full retail game lives up to the potential of this very short demo that I played at E3. And what I am pleased to say is, yes, I do feel that the game did hold up. Let's talk a little bit about the game. We'll talk about the basic premise, the gameplay, how it's changed from the older Hitman games, okay? Because there are a lot of changes, but there's good news for people who are hardcore Hitman fans as well. The amount of content in the game, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the contracts mode, which is the new mode that was added to the game, okay? So Hitman Absolution follows the story of Agent 47, who is this infamous assassin, the best in the business, everyone knows it, and it directly follows the storyline from the previous Hitman game, Hitman Blood Money, where the entire organization that 47 had been working for was shut down because of the betrayal of a woman who was on the inside. She was the person who was the informant, who always kept in contact with 47 and all the other assassins. And apparently she turned on the organization, had them all assassinated. Well, it's years later, and the assassination organization has reformed. They've re-recruited Agent 47 into the fold, and the very first mission in this game is that you have to kill the woman who betrayed the organization. Going on from that, there will be different plot lines going on in the game. Sometimes you'll be on the lam, and you have to outrun police. Sometimes you will be doing just straight-up assassination missions. And I really like what they did here is they separated the stages of the game up into small snippets and checkpoints, so that basically getting from point A to, in some stages it's just as simple as you're just supposed to get from point A to point B and not get caught or detected. Other times it'll be, alright, you have to find this particular guy and kill him before you move on. And I like that because they definitely broke up the game enough that it's always exciting, it's always going to be, you know, kind of a fast-paced kind of a deal where, okay, gotta get in, kill this guy, get out, or gotta sneak around all these dudes, be very, very, you know, sneaky about it, don't get viewed. And I like the way that the checkpoints are. The checkpoints aren't spread out too far. I don't feel where, uh-oh, you fucked up, now you have to replay 20 minutes of gameplay. It's not really like that. So, Hitman Absolution, a little bit different than the previous installments of Hitman. Let me explain why. I think what they realized was there was this hardcore fan base for Hitman, but they wanted the game to be able to appeal to a wider demographic as well, such as me. I'm not the kind of person that really enjoys sitting around for 2 hours before a mission, looking at every single avenue and every kind of possibility before I can lay out my plan and get the assassination kill. Now, not to say that I didn't do that in certain missions of Hitman Absolution because I was enjoying myself so much to see the different methods that I could use to kill the people. I actually did. However, I'm not the kind of person that really wants to just repetitively do the same things over and over. There are some people who would love that. They would love the fact that they can, oh, I'm going to take my time and in 2 hours I'm going to find out the perfect way to walk in like a fucking silent shadow. No one ever saw me. Zoop, cut the guy's throat, got out, mission completed. Wow, I just spent 2 hours to beat this mission that really could be beaten in 5 minutes, but I had a blast doing it. Some people are of that mentality. I'm not, okay? So what they've added in Hitman Absolution is called Instinct. Now what Instinct does is twofold. the first thing Instinct does, actually I take that back threefold. The first thing that Instinct does, it allows you to see all of the enemies in the area, including your target who's highlighted. It's very, very similar to Detective Mode and Detective Sight in the Batman Arkham City, okay? In Arkham Asylum. It's kind of like a 3D transparent view through walls where you can see where all the enemies are and where your target is at all times. It also accentuates your hearing so you can hear the conversation of any nearby enemies, okay, or guards. So this is used primarily to locate where the target is and to time your movements so that you're not detected by any of the guards or the targets, okay? Number two, Instinct can be used, because this is a new addition to the game, to fool people who you're disguised as. So in previous Hitman games it would be like, wow, you know, it's a building full of guards, you stealthily killed one guard and took his outfit, now all the guards think that you're a guard even though they've never seen you before. Wouldn't it really be suspicious if an actual person who you've never seen before was working with you? So that's the point here, is that I think they wanted to make it a little bit more realistic in that respect. So what happens is, if you steal a guard outfit and you walk towards a group of guards, they're going to recognize that you're not one of the people that they know, and they're going to get suspicious and you'll be detected, per se. So what they've done is Instinct allows you to blend in. So maybe that you kind of fool them into thinking that you're one of them for a temporary period of time. However, this feature has a bar that actually is a timed amount that you can use it. And over the course of the game, as you pass certain missions and complete certain side objectives, you'll actually upgrade that bar so that you have more and more of it. So there's some stages you'll just be able to walk right through disguise and no one will ever bother you. The third use for Instinct is for quick shooting, and this is another cool feature that they've added, where you go into this kind of bullet time mode where you will aim for certain headshots, okay? And if you have enough instinct to do it, you can kill multiple people in a room instantly. Just go boom, 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 boom. Maybe do a quad headshot, kill 4 people, and drop them all at once. So, again, that's dependent on if you have instinct built up. Now, how do you build up instinct? You build up instinct by successfully completing certain actions. So, for example, take out a guard, take his disguise, and hide the body successfully, okay? You'll build up instinct by doing that. And so doing successful sneaky actions constantly upgrades your instinct bar, and that allows you to use these other abilities that also accentuate your stealth, okay? So what ultimately is the goal of Hitman Absolution? Well, every mission is going to be different. Again, sometimes you might just have a straight-up assassination mission. Sometimes it might just be get from point A to point B without being discovered. Sometimes it will be evade. People are searching for you actively and you have to evade people, so there are missions like that. So there's going to be some variety in what you're doing. But ultimately every stage breaks down like this. There's a certain stretch or a certain part of the map that you're on, and you have to complete your goal as quickly and efficiently as possible without getting detected and not starting a firefight and getting out alive. Now, there's certain side objectives and side goals. So for example, even though you may be killing someone in a certain way, maybe you didn't get as many points as you would have done if you'd done it a different way. And an example here would be causing an accident per se, as opposed to just showing up, running and gunning and killing the guy who you're supposed to kill. So an example here is there was a group of people who, some of them I was supposed to kill and one I was supposed to kidnap, all undetected. So actually, after replaying the stage a few times, I found out that there's one of the kids actually stops hanging out with the guards, walks away to a corner and pisses in the corner. And I found out that I could sabotage an electric wire so that the place was electrified. When he pisses, he electrocutes himself. And that gave me significantly more points and scoring and ranking than if I had just shot him from afar or something, or just walked up to him and blew his brains out, okay? Similarly, I fooled the person I was supposed to kidnap into thinking I was the barber by dressing up as the barber, bopping him on the head, and then after I killed all the people I was supposed to kill, I just dragged them out the front door. So I could have been more of a bully, never disguised myself, just ran up, punched the guy in the face, but you don't get as high of a ranking. So ultimately, you can choose to play Hitman Absolution however you want. If you really do want to, you can play it as a run and gun kind of a game. But that's really not what the game's intended to be. It's really supposed to be a sneaky kind of game. Now, the addition of instinct is kind of a controversial thing. I did see a lot of people who were complaining during my playthrough that, oh, this isn't Hitman anymore, this has now become Batman Arkham City, this is way too easy. Well, keep in mind, instinct is there to help someone like me, who I didn't play all the classic Hitman games. Maybe I don't understand every single mechanic of the game, and maybe I don't want to have to repetitively replay the same mission over and over and over to figure out the way to successfully kill the target. So for someone like me, a little bit more of a casual gamer, I'm not hardcore into this series, I think that instinct was a great thing. But what I want to tell everyone, and this is why I don't understand why people are so negative all the time, is that the game does have the ability to turn it off. You can actually go to professional difficulty, and the game plays like the old Hitman games. You don't have instinct and shit like that. It's just about you figuring out the sneaky way to fulfill your goals by yourself without any hints, without using the X-ray vision and all the instinct bullshit where people blend in. And actually, from what I've heard, the game is significantly harder. In fact, it's very hard to do these missions without instinct, but it's kind of like the old Hitman games. So the game caters to every audience. If you want to be a little bit more casual, leave it on the normal difficulty and use your instinct. If you want it to be a lot more difficult, go to professional mode and it'll disable it. So it makes sense. They wanted to cater to everyone. The old fans can play the old way, the more difficult style. Newer fans who are just new to the series can actually play it in the new style with instinct. And I loved the game because of that. Now the game is split up. I believe it was a total, I'm trying to remember, of 20 missions. But each mission could vary greatly in length. Some of them were hours long, some of them were maybe only a few minutes, depending on what the mission is. And the variety and the amount of kills and the ways you have to do things is amazing. I mean, here's a great example. There's one stage where you have to kill a guy who's a giant cage fighter, okay? You can either be stealthy, and you can go to the top of the stage and actually destroy the lighting fixture above the cage and come down and squash him, or you can just be completely straightforward, walk up into the crowd, pull out your gun and shoot him through the cage. Or if you want to do an even more complicated method, you can sneak into the dressing room before the fight, steal the outfit from and impersonate the guy who he's going to actually fight in this cage fight, and then go out to the cage fight and fight him hand to hand and beat him that way. So how cool is that there's so many different ways to do these missions, and they're actually fun and creative. It's really interesting for me. And some of the crazy variety of enemies you're going to be fighting. Like I said, a giant kind of roided cage fighter, a set of assassin nuns who are like supposed to be some crack squad out to kill 47, or maybe it's just some generic police officers. I mean, there's a lot of variety in the stuff that's going on, and my phone is now ringing, so hold on one second. I apologize. I'm going to mute it. I muted you. Okay, I muted the phone. So, yeah, there's a lot of variety in the way that the enemies, just the enemies themselves. Sometimes you'll be fighting professional assassins, sometimes you'll just be fighting bodyguards, sometimes you'll be assassinating like these high-ranking business people. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of cool stuff to the story of this game without spoiling too much. And so ultimately, Hitman Absolution is fun for everyone, for the more casual audience and for the more hardcore audience. The 20 missions of the game on the standard difficulty, which is what I played it on, lasted me, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was probably about 10 to 12 hours of gameplay. Because I remember the first day I definitely played around 5, and then the next day it was a little bit shorter than that. So probably 9 to 10 hours of gameplay on your first run through. But the thing about Hitman Absolution is that there's so many cool ways to do things that you're going to want to replay the game multiple times. You're going to want to experience each mission in different ways and find out, gee, what was the accidental method I could have killed this guy? What was the more straightforward method? And my fucking answering machine's going to start beeping, I think. I hope not. Anyway, yeah, really fun to want to go back and re-experience these missions in different ways and figure out what was the other way that I could have done this mission. So there's monstrous replayability. Even though you might beat the standard campaign within, say, 9 to 10 hours, you then have the ability to go back and completely re-experience all the missions in different ways. And this game really lends itself to that kind of a thing, where you're going to want to go back and keep replaying the game and replaying the missions to figure out exactly what other ways you could have done things. And I really think the game shines in that respect. So 9 to 10 hours of very good gameplay on the normal difficulty, and then the possibility of even more if you go back and replay every mission. Hold on one second. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to stop this stupid thing from beeping. Which I can't seem to figure out now. Whatever. Well, there. I turned it all the way down. Fucking stupid phone. Anyway. Okay, well, what a review this is. So, now let's talk a little bit about Contracts mode, okay? Contracts mode is a new mode that was added in specifically by the game developers because there was this hardcore community of Hitman fans who in the previous games would actually have like challenges that they would do. They would go online and say, gee, what's the fastest time that you were able to kill such and such target with this particular weapon, with only using this disguise and getting out undetected? And people would post their run-throughs and their different competitions on trying to do these things in special ways or speed runs and stuff like that. So what the game developers did, they said, well, if people are already doing this, why not help them? Why not add a game mode where it's all about that? It's all about trying to do certain assassinations, certain missions in certain ways, and then kind of showing off, on a worldwide leaderboard your score and how well you did. So Contracts mode is a couple things. First of all, it's the ability for you to make your own contracts. Now, don't go off the deep end now. It's not that much of a big customization. In fact, you're limited to maps that were in the campaign of Hitman Absolution. You can't create your own map and your own setting and stuff like that. It's not that crazy. But you have the ability to take certain maps from the campaign of the game and set up certain people as targets, and then also kind of coordinate the timing of things and things that happen to up the difficulty. So for example, I played one contract from this person who wanted me to assassinate the crooked judge at the courthouse. And so what I did is I had the courthouse guard uniform on, and I walked out back, walked around past all the security who didn't know who I was because I was a courthouse guard, not the security from the building. Walked in the back, snuck in the back window, waited in the judge's chambers, then sabotaged the computer. So the judge said, all right, I'm going to have a brief recess. Had the recess. When he walked back to his chambers, pow, took him out, threw him inside the cabinet that was right there, went right back out that window, mission completed. I did a really good score. In fact, I actually beat the national and world average scores for that mission. The only thing I did is I messed up. I used the wrong weapon. I was supposed to use a different kind of weapon to kill the guy. So that's an idea of one mission. Now another mission, this one was significantly harder, and I did record it, but I never beat it because it was so hard. You had to kill 3 different targets in an apartment building where there's constant guards patrolling the doorways. The targets almost never look away from the door. So it's almost like there's no way to really easily stealth kill these guys. It's more about kind of sneaking around the outside of the building, going in window to window, and trying to sneak up behind them when they're not paying attention and take them out. But you also have to hide the bodies. And I figured out how to kill one of the guys effectively. I think I kind of figured out how to kill another guy effectively, but at that point I'd run out of time to play. But what I could say is this. The actual Contracts mode missions can be significantly harder than the standard story missions because, think about that, 3 targets instead of in the actual part of the story, you didn't have to kill any of those people. Those people were just people in the building that you could kind of eavesdrop on and have fun listening to that. And I do want to mention that one of the coolest things about Hitman Absolution is the dialogue. They wrote Quentin Tarantino-like dialogue for this game where it's like people with the craziest, zaniest stories, and it may not even be a major part of what's going on, but if you just listen to a conversation between 2 guards or 2 police officers, and they're referencing things that have happened previously in the game, which is really neat. And a lot of times they're just talking about crazy shit. You got one guy talking about gonorrhea and, fucking whores and all kinds of stuff. One guy's hitting on a maid, which is pretty funny. A Mexican maid, he's hitting on her. So it's like just listening to the dialogue is some of the biggest entertainment in the game because it's really well written and really fun and quirky. But yeah, this Contracts mission was significantly harder because you had to murder 3 people on this floor. That in the campaign, all you needed to do was sneak by the floor and get to the upper level. And in this time, you had to actually kill 3 people on the floor. So it makes it as hard as the creator of the contract wants it to be. Now, the other thing is you can make your own, like I said, so you can choose to make a contract or play someone else's custom contracts. There are some there that were made by the actual studio. I think it's called like IO Studio, IO Interactive, but there are a lot of them that were made by fans and gamers, and it's pretty fun to play through these. Now, is it anything groundbreaking? Not really. I mean, is there going to be like you know, like I said, you can't make a custom map or anything like that. That would have been like insane amount of content for the game. But it's neat that this mode is something that IO Interactive recognized that people were doing outside of the game and doing it on YouTube and doing it on stuff like that, and put a whole mode into the game so that you could experience it for yourself. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the game, and it's just more, again, more replayability, more fun for you to play the game. So overall, what do I think of Hitman Absolution? Well, I think this is the kind of game that if you like stealth, if you like sneaking around, or if you like finding different creative ways to complete missions, this is going to be your kind of game. This is not going to be a game for a person who just likes running and gunning. It's not like Max Payne 3, you know what I mean? It's not a game like that. This is a stealth-oriented game, and you have to understand that going into it. If you don't like stealth, you're not going to like Hitman Absolution, okay? So that is the case. Now, I do want to say there are a couple negatives about the game that I do want to mention. Number one, the campaign is a little bit on the shorter side, like I said, 9 to 10 hours. And if you're someone like me who, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time because I'm so busy playing so many games and doing so many things that I can't go back, I, unfortunately, don't have time to go back and re-experience some of the optional ways to kill these guys. So I recognize that the content is there and the massive replayability is there, but for me, for only one run-through, it was a little bit on the shorter side. Another thing is, I do have to say that when using the instinct, the game does kind of become a little bit easy in certain parts. For example, at the end of the game, the final mission of the game, I actually got a silent assassin ranking. And that says something because I haven't played a Hitman game in a long time. Most people who watch my playthroughs know I'm not really great at stealth. Now, there are some exceptions. Deus Ex last year, I did really well playing in a stealth manner, and actually, Hitman Absolution. I did mess up a couple times and had a couple epic fails, but outside of those, I did pretty good, and I went pretty swimmingly through the game without many difficulties. So, I think the game is a little bit on the easier side. However, I just want to let everyone know, yes, you can change it. Like I said, there are the harder difficulties. You can disable the instinct from being what it is, and therefore, the game really can be as hard or as easy as you make it, okay? So, outside of that, I really don't have any complaints. Graphics were outstanding, dialogue was amazing, gameplay was fun as hell. I like the fact that Instinct makes the game open up and more, more accessible to more people, but at the same time, for the Hitman purists, you could still play the game like the classic Hitman games. I like the fact that IO Interactive saw what the fans were doing with the previous Hitman games and added a whole new mode for you to do it officially in the game. That's the kind of basically interaction with fans that I like to see. So I'm massively impressed with the game. I'm so happy that I got to experience it because I haven't played Hitman in quite a long time, and the rumor has it that this may be the last Hitman game, and I'd be a little sad if that was the case, because after such a long hiatus since Blood Money, finally coming back with Hitman Absolution, and being such a great game, I'd be very sad if the series were to end here. So I guess we'll see what happens. Hopefully the game sells well, especially during these holiday season, and they do make another one. I'm not going to hold my breath, but I would love to play another Hitman game. I really, really enjoyed this one, okay? So overall, it's a game that has an audience. It's a game that has, you have to understand that not everyone's going to like the game. It's not run and gun and heavily action-based. It's more stealth, so if you like stealth, you're going to like the game. It is a little bit on the shorter side, but massive replayability, so you're going to want to go back and spend more time replaying those missions, and it's worth it to do so because of the cool creativeness of the way that you can do the missions, plus a whole extra mode to check out once you're done with the campaign. The game is an outstanding value, very entertaining, very fun, and the writing and the dialogue is some of the best in a video game that I've ever heard. I give Hitman Absolution a 9 out of 10. Extremely good, a couple small flaws here and there, especially with, like I said, the length of the game, but outside of those, the game's outstanding. It's a must-buy for anyone who likes stealth games or has ever played a Hitman game. Definitely check it out, okay? Okay, so that is it for the Hateful Truth video game review. I hope that you found it informative, and now you know a little bit more about Hitman Absolution and whether or not you actually want to check out the game yourself. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope that I gave you maximum truth and minimum bullshit, and I will see you next time for the next Hateful Truth game review. Peace out.